We've seen this a couple times on this test already. When we have these sentences that ask us to combine the sentences, we have to remember to predict the question, right? This is a clue that we are not thinking about grammar. And that's what people who look at these answer choices start to think, is like, oh, I got to pick the right punctuation because that seems to be something that's changing. No. We should assume that all of these choices are grammatically correct. They're testing other things. If we have a question, a literal question, we know that that means they're testing the ideas. And so we would need to think about, well, do any of these choices connect the ideas in a bad way? I think the only one that does, in a really obviously bad way, is choice A. Such that. Champions of court reporting, though, argue the opposite, such that with the increased reliance on technology, errors actually increase. It probably sounds a little weird, and it's because such that kind of means because here, or like in this way. And that's not really what we're trying to say. We're just kind of saying what their argument is. It's not like a because kind of situation, or like a cause and effect kind of situation. So that connector word that would connect two different kinds of ideas is not being used correctly. It's a weird connection that makes the ideas not flow. Now, the other three, I don't know, maybe some are a little bit worse or better than the others in terms of that, but I think they all kind of do the job of making it clear that this is what the argument is. However, when we have the ideas connected in a logical way, we also want to think about a little bit of style and make sure that we're connecting the ideas not just in a logical way, but also in an efficient way. So if we look at D, for example, is there really anything that the words their opinion is? Is there anything those words add? Did they add any ideas? No. We kind of get that it's their opinion. So we don't need to draw attention to that. That's obvious from what we aren't changing. Not to mention that a semicolon is a very weak connection. And so if we're trying to combine the ideas, we really want to combine them. We want the two ideas to flow together. A semicolon is really just a period. So we're still kind of separating the two ideas. It's not a good way to make ideas blend together, which is really the task of this ideas question, is get those things to mix together. So that's usually going to mean that semicolons are wrong on these. Not for punctuation reasons, not because we're using the semicolon incorrectly, just because it's not a great connector. The same thing's going on with C, is it's kind of like a weak connection, and it's not efficient. We can get there faster. Choice B is the answer. And I know that the reason a lot of people get this question wrong is that they themselves would probably never write choice B in their own essays. It's just not what most high school students do. But it's perfectly valid, and that's why when I say don't think about grammar, we're really helping ourselves, because then we're thinking not about whether or not the dash is being used correctly, but just whether it's an efficient way to connect the sentences. We're assuming it's being used correctly. So if it is, then it's by far the most efficient because it lets us just get to the point. And really what's going on here, just to get to the grammar a little bit, is the dash here is being used as a colon. It's basically letting us explain in the second part the thing that came before in the first part. Champions of court reporting, though, argue the opposite. What's the opposite? That with the increased reliance on technology, errors actually increase. That is a perfectly valid way to use a colon or a dash. Both kind of function the same way, sometimes. In this case, that's how they would function, and in this case, that would be a very valid way of doing it, and a very efficient way of doing it, and yeah, something to consider for your own writing. But more important for the SAT, you gotta get your brain on the right track. The reason people have trouble with these combined sentences rules is they don't know what to think about. Their brain is all over. They're moving away from what sounds good to what rules they need to follow to does the sentence even make sense? If we remember that it's an ideas question, that gives us something to think about. And then if multiple answers connect the ideas in a valid way, then we can just pick the shortest one, and almost always it'll be right. Know that. That's an SAT thing, and it will get you these hard questions right most of the time.